Welcome back. This is the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
Hope you guys had a great weekend. We did a lot of stuff over the weekend.
Good.
First thing we're going to talk about is the green up cleanup that we did on Sunday. I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like a truck ran me over and maybe backed up a few times. I've been going to the gym. I have missed the last month. I will be honest about that. But at all the time I've gone to the gym, I haven't felt like this. So that says how good of a workout this was for us, too, as well as picking up trash.
Yeah, it was a great workout. We chose the right direction to walk in. It actually gave us an advantage, and we still are sore. And I had a little incident where I thought I lost my wallet yesterday.
Well, no, you lost it.
Oh, I did lose it. I had Tim drive me all around town. We were going out to look for some farming equipment. Went and checked everywhere. We signed up for the green up cleanup, and I was fortunate enough to be able to walk the route twice. So I feel like I've been hit by two trucks that backed up over me because I retraced my steps throughout the entire cleanup looking for that wallet.
So what I had said to Steve, I said, well, I'm going to buy you a wallet with a chain on it so you can never lose it again.
Yes, you did. And the last place that I looked was when we returned home yesterday. Nikki and I stretched our backs out. She decided to stretch her back out in the grass where we had about 4 or 5 ticks that were taken off of people at the rec center when we were having our end of cleanup celebration with a nice pizza that they provided and drinks and sodas. Anyway, so we were stretching our back out. I did not want to get in the grass, so I went up on the patio where it's concrete, and I stretched my back out on the concrete, and lo and behold, there was my wallet. The last place I looked, which was about 4 minutes or less of back stretching, so I totally had put it out of my mind and didn't retrace my steps there. So if I would have retraced my steps backwards from when we got home from the green up cleanup, I would have found it in about 3 minutes. Instead, I walked the route twice. So Bart and Whitney got a lot of walking yesterday.
Yes. So, hey, check out this clip real quick. We did this yesterday when we were at not the sign up, but when we got our trash bags and our gloves. Check this clip out. We'll be right back.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Steve.
From the Tim and Steve Show. We hope everyone got out there and helped clean up the day. We just did a live video. Of course, we're going to put this on our show after, but Sunday on the 1st was cleanup day. I hope you helped out. And for all those that did, thank you. Thanks for the Rec Center for putting this on to make our community beautiful. And we'll see you at the 5K. We're looking for donations, people. If you find a business or someone donates to us, we will do the 5K in pink tutus. I haven't convinced him on the pink part, but I will do it in pink tutu. And if we get enough money, we'll even do it in pink wigs. That's right, pink wigs. 2 old guys, pumpkins, doing a 5K, humiliating ourselves for money for charity. Come on, people, we can do this.
Green up, clean up. Appreciate your support. 5K coming up this weekend.
Have a good day.
All right, I hope everyone liked that clip. That was before we did all this work. But so, yeah, we did Barton Whitney Road from the corner of Blueberry Ridge and all the way down to Route 11, 103. I don't know, we figured I think your wife was thinking it was probably like 4 miles. I want to thank my fiance Andrea and our daughters Alicia, Danielle, and Lydia, who has a broken ankle. She couldn't do as much as the rest of us, but she was a big help. She sat in the back of the truck. She gave us trash bags, and then your wife Nikki was helping us out as well, and your dog JJ. It was a good time, and we picked up a lot.
Danny made sure that we kept our cans separated so we could try to recycle too. So
yeah, I gotta be honest with you, I was not really good at that. I was like, hey, it's either on the road or in this trash bag, and I chose the trash bag most of the time. But
you were moving too. You were not. You were way ahead of us. You went off and were hauling.
Yeah, I was in my own little zone, just picking stuff up. And it's funny because you would go on Barton Whitney Road, and you'd go a couple hundred feet and pick up a few things, and then you'd go like 15 feet and pick up a bag full of stuff. And so, what was the last number you think roughly we had for bags?
I think it was 38 to 40.
38 to 40 bags on one little 4-mile stretch of road. I know I got a tire. You got what, 2 tires?
Yeah, there were 2 or we had a total of 4 tires.
We had a lot
jug of oil.
Yeah, a jug of oil. The girls were finding needles, as scary and not cool as that is. Danielle found a baby bath.
A baby bath. We found quite a few alcoholic beverages, 2 different types. So Tim and I decided that we're going to stake out the local gas stations and find out who you are. Cause
yes, if you drink Bud Light or Twisted Teas, yes, we're stalking you. I want to make sure you're not throwing them on the back road because that was like a majority of the things I picked up yesterday. And it's like, don't throw your trash out. Like, come on.
And don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive, especially. Yeah, I mean, that's even more important. Don't drink and drive. But then don't throw your trash out. Like, come on.
Yeah, like when you go to the gas station to buy said alcohol, throw away your old containers when you're walking in. There's garbage cans at the gas pumps and as you're walking into the store. So utilize your trash containers, folks.
Yeah, and so that was another. I've been asked or I've seen before on Facebook and stuff about the rec center because it's a hot topic, right? So May 10th, Article 6 is to vote for a new rec center. There's a lot of negative, positive, all that. And a lot of people are like, well, they think, well, I don't have kids in school or I don't have young kids, so the rec center doesn't affect me. And this Green Up Cleanup Day was brought to you by the rec center. So 9 o'clock in the morning, we went down to the common. We got our bags, we got our gloves.
We got free donuts and coffee.
Free donuts and coffee they had there. And then at noon.
And a T-shirt. We all got T-shirts.
I was so proud of that. I was so happy to get a T-shirt.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
we
for free. We didn't have to pay for
I know.
T-shirt.
We looked like pumpkins, but we had nice orange shirts. And there was green shirts. I think Alicia got a green shirt. And we did Barton Whitney Road. It worked out. Timing was perfect because it took us just about 3 hours, just in time for us to go there at noon to the rec center. And they provided with free pizza and drinks. PJ said about 55 people had showed up to help. Not as many showed up for the pizza, but we're just very thankful for the rec center.
When we drove around to look for my wallet, we saw that other roads had been done since we had left the rec center after lunch. So
yes,
there were still people actively cleaning.
Yes.
While they might not have done it during the 9 to 12 time slot, they still did it yesterday because there were a lot more bags out when we went back through town.
Yeah, so all the blue bags that you see in town that you're driving around today, those are all people that cleaned up trash. Whether they did it yesterday or we actually had some people on my road that did it on Saturday. So and I think I talked to PJ. I'm pretty sure I have to find out for sure, but I think the dumpster was going to be down there for a few days this week. So I'm thinking maybe if we get another nice day, as much as you want to hear this, that we'll maybe go hit some spots that didn't look like they're hit. We saw, so I live off of Blueberry Ridge. You live on Barton Whitney, and about half of Blueberry Ridge was done. So I was like, maybe we should go finish that up with the kids, and we'll be even more sore for our next topic that we want to talk about. We kind of hinted on it last week, but so this Saturday, the 5K, which is also brought to you by the Rec Center. We are not 5K running built material here, but so if we can get donations for charity, anyone, you donate $5, $10, if you're a business, you want to donate $100, whatever you donate, we'll take that and we will wear pink tutus and we'll do this 5K. And I talked to Chief Wilmot yesterday, who helped clean up as well. Whatever street he's on, I'm not sure, but he was there as well. He's a runner. He just did the Boston Marathon 2 weeks ago. So obviously we could chain him up and he could beat us. So we had said to him, I was like, hey, why don't you run it twice? So if you can run it twice to our one, then what we'll do is if we lose, we'll match whatever donations we get. And to be fair to him, instead of making him run it twice, because
or asking him to
run it twice, and he just did the marathon 2 weeks ago, we said, all right, tell you what, you take your time, whatever your time is for when he finishes it, as long as we can do it quicker than what it would be if you did it twice, doubling his time, then we'll if we lose that bet, we'll match the donations. And I'm thinking if we beat it, I think we can get them to match it or something, and we'll figure something out. I like putting people on the spot because then it's hard to say no because then it's for charity. And but no, so we're hoping to get you guys, email. You can email. We'll put an email up in the end. You can reach me on Facebook, message me and say, hey, yeah, I'll listen. I don't care if it's $5. If a couple people put $5 in, it's all for charity. It's all for fun.
It's a fun run and walk, so you don't necessarily have to run it. You can walk it. It's set up so that runners will be successful as they attack it. And Chief did say that there are quite a few hills on this route.
Yeah, so it's basically, it starts down towards the end of the airport runway, and it goes up, and then you kind of like turn around at Oak Street. So you're going to go up Corbin Road through the Pines, nice view through there. So going up is going to be a challenge. Coming back should be fairly easy, except by then we'll be winded, exhausted, and You know.
Now, are we going to try to jog at all, or are we just straight up power walking?
So I think we'll start with like a little jog. I think we'll start right next to Brent, and within like 50 feet, we'll start walking, and he'll be off on his way, and we'll wave to him. Hopefully, when he's coming back, we'll be close to halfway, because then we'll have beat the challenge. And then maybe next year we'll actually be in shape enough that we could actually like try to challenge him to some degree. I mean, I don't think we'll ever beat him.
He is a
but
running machine.
Maybe they'll give us like a 10-minute or 15-minute handicap or something. I don't know.
Watching him move up there on Dancing with the Stars, I mean, he's in shape. He did some dance moves that we probably couldn't do, much less in running shape after running the marathon. He's going to have some dead legs, but he's still
going to do it. I told him we're going to do the pink tutu thing. He's like, oh, you should just wear like running gear. And I'm like, yeah, but it's more embarrassing for us to wear pink tutus.
Or we could wear pink capes. I'm all about pink capes. I'm all about not being too embarrassed.
But it's for charity.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot for a pink cape versus a pink tutu.
So this is what we'll do. We'll do pink capes if we don't raise more than $100.
Okay.
But if we do more, we'll do pink capes and tutus.
All right, I can do it.
Of course, now we have to find pink capes, or if you're like a business and you're like, hey, I'll give you $500 to do this, you tell us what to wear, we'll wear it. Within reason. I'm not dressing as a woman, but I'll do a pink wig or whatever. I'll humiliate myself for charity. I'm fine with that. But
I got a red wig. I got a Scooby-Doo wig that Zeta has from when she was Daphne.
Yes, last year at the school. That was awesome. They did that. I saw those pictures, yeah. So
there's all kinds of things. We're just looking to get the community involved. It's a way for us to try to raise money for a good cause in the area.
And this is all for charity. We're not taking a penny out of this.
This is all going to charity.
And like I said, we'll match this if we can. If we don't beat Brent's time, which PJ was kind of like, you probably should tell him if you can beat his time that he does three times doing it, because he's fast.
He is fast.
But I was like, you know what? If we lose,
well, that's why I was trying to convince him to run it twice, but he was kind of like, I'm still recovering from the.
Yeah, he really wasn't having any of that.
He had none of it. He just walked away from us at a certain point. Was like, yeah, figure it out.
Yeah, he was like,
not running it more than once.
I'm hoping to get him on the show later this week. I'd like to talk. We'll talk to Run a little bit in our little challenge, but I'd like to talk about some stuff going on in Newport. And he's a great guy. If you haven't met Chief Wilmot, very a personal you go up to him, approachable person.
Very approachable.
You can talk to him about anything, and he's always out in the public. Like I said, he was there yesterday, which is awesome to see. I kind of was disappointed. I was hoping Hunter would be there, and at least for a little send off, but not to dish on him. But I just was very impressed that Chief Wilmot was there doing this, contributing to the community. And so, yeah.
I was impressed that we had 55 that we know of on top of those that we didn't know about, because there were blue bags on John Stark and Oak when we went down to Oak that weren't there previously. So I just really appreciate the community stepping up, and we need to get more involved. So 5K, come out, participate. Walk it, just have a good time, enjoy your town, enjoy the views that we have right now, especially if it's going to be nice weather.
Yeah, hopefully.
Like it was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday was so beautiful. Oh, man, was it nice. And so this Saturday, May 7th, it's 9:30, the kids start, and then at 10 o'clock for the adults. We'll be there, obviously, quite a bit before that. We'll probably tape a little something there, too, and try to get people involved. And I think it's usually a pretty good turnout that they have there. This would be the first. I used to live right on Corbin Road, so I'd watched them go by in the past. I don't live on Corbin Road anymore, but I've already seen good turnout, and I think this year will be no exception to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So reach out somehow. You can get hold of me on Facebook. We'll put the information at the end of our show, so you have it. Just I don't care if it's $5. I'll meet you at the gas station or somewhere in town. Grab you $5, put your name down. Thank you very much, and we're going to do this, and we're trying to raise as much as we can, and it's all going to a cause in Newport. It's not going anywhere else. It's for this community, from this community, and hopefully we'll get some donations.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so we were supposed to have Steve Miller. Steve Miller. No, we were supposed to have Jeff Miller in today, who is the athletic director for the Newport Middle School High School. He got tied up with a meeting, so we're going to try to get him in here tomorrow. But I do want to. I don't know why I'm going to
fill us in on some activities.
I want to fill you in on some activities. So one of the biggest things about us doing this show is trying to get more community involvement. You don't have to have kids in school to be involved with the school. Obviously, all your tax dollars, it goes to the school, so that should be incentive enough to be like, hey, you have a piece in all of this. We all do. And so if you don't have kids playing sports, you can still go to those games. Like most people, like we all love baseball, right? Softball, like all these things, track. A lot of our residents played those sports in school.
Right.
So I really want to push to get the community more involved in a positive way. And then when there's negative things, like, sometimes we go to school boards, negative stuff. Well, I still want you involved, because without the conversations, we can't make things better. So this is like our big push is to get the community to go out, be involved, and contribute to our great community. So
And cheer our kids on. And
yes, absolutely. Like we have some great student athletes in this town. They put a lot of hard work and effort into whatever sport they're playing, and we're great with football. I think we really show up as a town, but I like to see us show up on all sports, and even better with football.
Basketball is pretty good.
Basketball is pretty good. I mean, I know the last 2 years have been messed up,
it's been kind of hard.
But so just trying to get more involvement. So today, JV at home versus Sunapee at 4:00, and then varsity baseball is at Sunapee, and that's at 4:00. And then today also varsity softball at Sunapee at 4:00, and then there's a varsity track and field at home today at 4:00. And then just to give you tomorrow, so you have it, before the game. And today also the middle school baseball. It says B. I don't know if it's a B team, but it's their home versus Villa at 4:30. And then tomorrow we have middle school baseball at home. So those are 6th through 8th graders. 4:00. They're going to be taking on Claremont. And then also tomorrow, middle school softball is going to be taking on Claremont at home at 4:00. So I just wanted to put these out so people can know in advance and show up and support your local talented kids here that are playing sports this spring.
Yeah, and if you're not interested in supporting sports, right now going on at the Newport Library Arts Center, we have an art show going on for the kindergarten through high school students. I went and checked it out over, I don't know, about a week and a half ago, and beautiful. The creativity and the talent on display. When I went, the Peep show was still there, and there were some amazing Peep dioramas based, around the Peeps, the little candies.
Oh, the candies! All right, I was nervous. I'm like, what do you mean a Peep show?
No, Peeps.
Peeps, the little yellow.
Yellow,
I guess
green,
pink too. Yeah,
different colors.
Yes.
Some great creativity on display, and truly some talented artists amongst us. So if you're not inclined to go sit outside, a little too chilly for you, go walk around the Library Arts Center here in Newport from April. It started on April 8th. It goes through May 27th, and check out and see how artistic our kids are in this town, because we have some future artists, definitely, and it's just good to see everybody. So really enjoyed it. Nice, quiet. It's laid out nice, so you can just walk around and see everything. Great opportunity to go out and support the kids, even though they're not there. Just being able to see it and know that we have that kind of talent in our town is impressive.
Yeah, so if you go on libraryartcenter.org, and that brings up all the stuff that's going on in the Library Arts Center, and basically just under the schedule, it just says Newport Schools Student Art Show, The Heart of Newport, and it's an exhibit featuring artwork from, like you said, kindergarten through 12th grade, and it's under the instruction of art teachers Colleen O'Connor, who's the elementary art teacher, and Debbie Skinner, who's the middle and high school teacher. So we want to thank them too. And
this is big for those teachers too, because this is the culminating show. They put a lot of work in getting, especially the elementary school, because all the students take art in elementary school. And high school is important as well, but that's a class that the kids have to choose to take, whereas the elementary art school teacher, she has a lot to organize and coordinate and get these young students to focus on, and just great artwork all around. The creativity shows us that the future is bright for our kids in Newport.
Awesome. So yeah, what we'll do is it's going on until May 27th, and I think I'll reach out to them and say, hey, I want to come down and let's interview and record them and and see if we can make like a little program we can put on on Facebook, YouTube, and then give it to NCTV. They can put it on and really try to get our kids great work out there for more people to see it. If people can't go out and see it, at least you can see it that way. So
Yeah, that'd be nice.
awesome. All right, so the next thing is we want to talk about was the Sunapee Lake Queen, which is the new dinner boat that replaced the MV Kearsarge on Lake Sunapee and Sunapee. They, I'm sure a lot of people have seen over, the last year. This boat, I believe they said, come from like Missouri. They brought it here last year, and then they did a bunch of work and stuff, and so it's replacing that old boat. I don't know if you've ever been out on the boat.
I have
there?
not ever been on the boat.
So we'll have to do that this summer because it's amazing. You go out. So the dinner cruise is great. The Appleseed Restaurant caters it. I've done it several times. It's a great time. But they also have the MV Sunapee, which is more like a tour boat, and they'll go out but either way, both boats, they tell you about the lake and around the lake and all the stuff about the lake, and it's a really cool thing. So it's kind of a big thing for our area that this new boat has just gone into the water. They did that yesterday, so we just want to kind of tell people about that, to look for that, and plan maybe sometime this summer getting out and checking out. For what you get, it's relatively inexpensive too, and it's a great time.
Another highlight to our local area.
Absolutely, we're really blessed with the area we have. We have a great area. We really do. We might struggle with high taxes and whatever, but we have so much that this area offers us as citizens, and we need to get out there and not only enjoy it more, but be more involved and help with green up days, do the 5K, go watch some sports, games that your kids, whatever.
Yeah, just get out there and enjoy what we have. We live basically people come here to vacation. They come here to snow ski in the winter, to fish in the summer, to watch the leaves and
the leaf peepers.
Leaf peepers. And on top of that, you have snowmobiling. You can rent four-wheelers, side-by-sides to go out on the trails. Lots of hiking for the spring to fall and winter if you're so inclined to do that, but a little dangerous for me. And as I get a little older, my wobbly knees after just walking up and down the hills yesterday.
Well, you did have to do it twice.
I did have to do it twice.
And you had me running all around town looking for your wallet that
was on my front patio.
Yeah, but you found it. That's what
I
really
found it.
matters.
That's all that matters.
Because I was like, man, now you're gonna have to get all your cards. You're gonna have to
new license.
Every time I go to a store, I'll have to pay.
Beautiful. Classic college move right there. Oh, left my wallet. Can't find my wallet.
Well, I'm glad you found it.
I still have my checkbook, though, so I can write checks.
Oh, perfect. All right, we're good.
We forgot to mention when we were doing the cleanup, we found, at least 8 to 12 hubcaps.
I found, myself, 2 Ford hubcaps, a Volkswagen car hubcap. I think there was a Toyota hubcap.
Yeah, we had quite the menagerie of hubcaps, which just goes to show you that it was awesome that they just repaved Barton Whitney, because as I mentioned on the last show, Nikki was able to call up Hunter and the maintenance department because the road was horrible. So if you're out walking along the roads and you found a bunch of hubcaps, that might be a justification to make that phone call to the our local government and say, what are you doing for my road? What's the plan? Because like we mentioned, they do have a plan. So
yes, they have a plan. Yes, they do have a plan. We were fortunate enough to benefit from them paving this road last year because it
definitely needed it.
And the proof was on the side of the road. We didn't even know it.
The roads with the hubcaps hidden up along the rock walls.
Yeah, it was crazy too. I was surprised because I'm sure that this has been cleaned, over the years. We're not the first ones to ever do this, but I found a lot of older bottles, old bottles,
with dirt and
So I don't know if
plants growing
when they
them.
did the road this past summer, maybe when they ground it all up and stuff, maybe that's kind of where it came from. I don't know.
They added height, so
right.
The road is definitely taller, higher off the ground than it was. So.
I was like, what the heck is going on with this? Why do we got old bottles from the 70s out here on the side of the road? There's no way we're the only ones that ever cleaned that area up.
It's
So
been cleaned before, and a lot of I see people definitely cleaning up in front of their houses as I've gone up and down the road. So, people do quite a good job of cleaning it. But I did notice when I was walking on the second time, we missed a lot. For as much as for almost having 40 bags of garbage, there were still some bottles that the sunlight hit it. So I picked up as much as I could carry until I got to a bag. And so I had to untie a bag and put it back in as I was walking down, looking a little lost yesterday as I I was rambling with 3 or 4 pieces of garbage in my hand. Probably looked homeless and searching for something out there, but it was definitely eye-opening experience cleaning the road, finding those old bottles, finding the hubcaps, which just goes to show that that road was definitely needing of repair. So appreciate town of Newport taking care of Barton Whitney last year.
And Blueberry Ridge.
And Blueberry Ridge. Looking forward to more improvements across the town as they come up on our calendar.
So I just got a text from Jeff Miller, and we covered pretty much all of this. And but one thing he did say that I didn't have the information for was, so today's track meet is, so Newport's hosting, and they're hosting Stevens, Fall Mountain, Sunapee, Mount Royal, and Mascoma.
Oh, so like a regional.
Yeah. So it seems like the track meets are it's very common for them to have, several teams there, because it's, it's more of a big team event of different,
Right. There's lots of events going on simultaneously.
Yes, lots. Like if you have never checked one out, like I said, I was never a big track person until Adriano did it last year, and then Zayde was doing it, and then I was like, all right, we'll check it out. And then I went, and I was like, whoa, this is like way more fun than I thought, because I figured this is going to be boring. But it's not, because
something's
constantly something going on. You find yourself having to go like, oh, the javelin's over here, we're going over here, and then we're coming back here. But it is awesome. It doesn't cost anything to go. You just show up, you check it out, cheer on Newport, cheer on whoever.
Cheer on the kids as they come across the line,
general.
because when I used to run cross country back in the day, that will not be on display this Saturday because I am way past cross country shape from high school. But there is a boost of energy that you get from people clapping and cheering, trying to finish hard and strong and beat maybe or catch up to the person in front of you. Definitely the cheering from the crowd helps with that. So cheer them on, motivate them those last 100 yards, 100 meters before they get to the finish line, and the kids will definitely appreciate it. And the coaches as well. And you can see exactly how much coordination goes on as they're moving, because most of the student athletes are doing more than one event. So they got to constantly listen for triple jump, long jump, javelin, the relays, the regular races. A lot of good things going on. So come on out and cheer the student athletes on.
That's how Lydia broke her ankle. She does softball, and we went to the track to just walk the track. Instead of going to the gym, it's like, oh, let's walk the track. It's nice out. And she's like, watch this. And my sister-in-law and my brother were there. And she's like, I'm going to jump the hurdle. And she jumped the hurdle. She did jump it. She landed wrong, broke her ankle.
More than one spot, too.
More than one spot. She did a good job at it. And she actually was a rugged little girl. She stood up and took like 5 steps before she went back down and said,
wow,
I think it's broke. I'm like, no, because 2 years prior to that, Andrew broke her ankle, and it was not good. It was a bad situation. And I'm like, no, because probably one of my favorite sports with her is like, I like softball. I'm like, but no, you're the catcher, and you're whatever. You didn't get to play last year, and you're gonna play this year. Yeah, she did that.
So if you're out walking the track, don't try to jump the hurdle.
Yeah, unless you're a professional athlete, as in you're a student in school that is
been trained to jump the hurdles,
or
there is a technique.
Yes, because most of us can get over it. It's the landing that's the bad part. I will not be jumping hurdles. I told her, I said, I told you couldn't jump it. I did jump it. She's like, once my ankle's better, I'll do it again. I'm like, no, you won't.
So she cleared it. She just landed.
She cleared it. She just landed weird. I don't know if it was
so when you had said it, I thought maybe she clipped it on her foot. But
no, she went over it. The landing was bad. So I did not get to walk the track that night. But I did pick her up and carry her, like, I don't know, 300 feet to the ambulance.
Good exercise.
I definitely got my exercise out of it. She's not a big girl at all, but she gets heavy after 300 feet of carrying her, and she's in pain. So,
and you're probably trying to be gentle with her too, to not make the pain. So then,
because I remember
puts more stress probably on your core. I'm not a licensed athletic trainer. I'm just guessing here, by the way.
Yeah, so at first I was like, all right, I'll have my brother bring her home. I think it's a sprain. I look at it, and so my sister-in-law sent a picture to Andrea, and she's like, it's definitely broke, because she knows, because she broke hers two years ago. And it's like, oh man, like we don't need this. So I call the Newport ambulance, and they come over, and got really lucky because one of the paramedics was on duty, because paramedics are the only ones that can push any meds, and she was starting to get a lot of pain. So this is interesting. They gave her like laughing gas, like you did at the dentist, and was enough to get her to the hospital so they could actually do things they needed to do for her there. And so definitely a shout out to the Newport Fire and EMS for this is the second time she's been in an ambulance this year. Over when she played basketball, she got a concussion, and we're bringing her home, and she's like repeating herself. And I've seen concussions before, but like, and then she was getting like almost like combative, like she was really struggling, like, you know, what's going on, and she was repeating herself, and she was whatever. And so me and her mom were like scared. So I'm like, let's call the ambulance. So this little girl's now taking the ride 2 times in the ambulance this year. So hopefully she'll be done for a while and let someone else have their turn at it, because it's not really fun.
I've ridden in one ambulance one time, and that was a field medic ambulance, or I can't remember the acronym these days, but it was a field medic ambulance, and we were just doing a training exercise, and I had finished a safety brief to watch out for scorpions, to shake out your gear, and probably within 2 minutes of me warning the soldiers about scorpions, little Stevie baby got snagged by a scorpion, and my finger started swelling up. And so as a safety precaution and to utilize the battalion medical evacuation plan, I was used as a guinea pig. And that was some rough driving that those soldiers put me through for a scorpion sting that went away by the time I got to the little clinic for them to treat it. But the ambulance worked, and I kind of vowed to never ride in an ambulance again after that, because it was pretty rough, because we were out at a field training exercise, so we weren't on flat ground, on concrete. So
this is something else that I love about New Hampshire. We don't have any really poisonous spiders, snakes, scorpions. I mean, they say we have like timber rattlers down in like the Merrimack Valley River area or something, but I don't go there really, so I don't have to worry. But for the most part, we're lucky. But you know, in Texas, there's rattlesnakes, there's all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of copperheads.
Yeah.
We had one of my buddies, his daughter's friend was about to get on the trampoline to work on some jumps for cheer, and a copperhead snapped her foot as she was climbing up. She felt a little pinch, and then all of a sudden it hit her. It actually made the local news down there for copperhead awareness, because they're so predominant. So Mom, Dad, if you're watching, listening, I like it up here too, because there are no poisonous snakes waiting for me whenever I pull a weed, or when I'm gardening, or outside mowing, or weed eating. In Texas, there's just everything's bigger and badder in Texas, and that's to include the poisonous reptiles, arachnids, and you know, the boars are even meaner and bigger down there.
So if you're looking for a reason to feel better about your situation in life today in local Newport, New Hampshire, you don't have copperheads, you don't have any snakes we have to worry about.
Water moccasins.
None of that. So automatically we're
alligators.
Winning. We're winning today. We are winning.
No alligators. That's another. The alligators have spread and continue to spread down south, and I'd like to be able to go dip my toes in the pond here and know that I'm not going to get bit by a poisonous snake or an alligator. Love New Hampshire.
Yeah, you just made me love it even more.
Yeah. I love Texas too, don't get me wrong. But I love the fact that whenever I stick my hand into the garden or grab a piece of wood, I might get, there could be a porcupine maybe. We don't have porcupines in Texas, so JJ has met a porcupine.
Oh, you get porcupine quills and I can pull those out. That's nothing.
We can pull them out with some
and
pliers.
We will totally record that too.
I will stay away. We have one actually that I caught on the Ring video. I asked Devin to come take care of that. Just for JJ's protection.
That was the other thing. So we did Barton Whitney Road yesterday, and it was the first day of turkey season. And usually I go out for that, but this is more important. And luckily, turkey season, it's all the whole month of May. So, but it's funny because you got hunters across the street. I see a truck, and then Zeta's boyfriend Devin and Zeta drove by. They're out hunting, and so I'm cleaning near the front of your yard, and I can hear the turkeys gobbling off out in the woods, and I'm just kind of laughing. I'm like, I'm picking up trash, and I probably could get a turkey. You guys are over hunting, and you didn't get nothing.
Well, Devin did say that this area he got the most callbacks whenever he was doing his turkey call.
A couple times we've been out there, like when they walked up to the pond, you can hear them, and I love this time of year. Like I was fortunate enough, I got a deer last year, and I'm not a big avid hunt, and I'm not a huge hunter. I like to hunt because I like to get out in the woods. It's quiet and everything, and deer hunting can get boring because you have to be super quiet and everything. Turkey hunting is super exciting because you can hear them coming from quite a ways away, and then you're kind of hoping, all right, come in, and it's so exciting. Like, so it's pretty cool if you're out, even if you're walking around this kind of year and this time of year, and you hear the gobbling out there. It's the male turkeys trying to get the females to come in, and then probably beginning of June you'll start to see the flocks with all these babies.
You can
behind
hear
them,
the flocks.
Yeah.
About, I don't know, dusk around here. I remember my first time that I walked down to the pond towards dusk. I could not figure out what was flying around up in the trees, flapping so hard and loud, and come to find out it was turkeys. I did not realize that the turkeys fly up into the trees and roost up in the trees.
They do. You wouldn't think they could fly, but they can. They sleep in trees, and so they will fly up there, and they fly. That's about the extent of their flying, unless they really get scared. You see them run and then fly, and they crash through the woods. Like, it's pretty crazy. The other thing, the worst thing, like when you're hunting, is it partridges or pheasants? You'll be out walking, and all of a sudden, like, you won't see it, and it'll like take off, and you're like, you feel like you're having a heart attack. Like, holy crap, what was that? Just a bird.
Just a bird. I've seen a couple of those. I saw them when I did the 100-mile wilderness up in Maine. There were quite a few pheasants that I hadn't really seen up close and personal, but I peeked my head up over on like a ledge, and it had to be 6 feet away from me, ran off. Holy cow. It was picturesque. Another northeast moment. Granted, that was in Maine, but it's beautiful up there on the 100-mile wilderness. That's where there's no civilization technically for about 100 miles, so you're on your own. My brother and I did that a couple summers ago.
So now you're telling me you did a 100-mile wilderness walk, and Chief Wilmot did the Boston Marathon, and I've walked the track lately, so
Tim will be doing all the donations.
No, it's a team effort, so you can go and you can beat us. That's fine, or you can beat me, but matters where the guy finishes last. This team.
There's always a catch. Always a catch. All right, well, that's good. I'll stay with you, and I'll motivate you to go faster. We'll have to have somebody call us and tell us what Chief's time was so that we can try to... Because he said he figured anywhere between, 15 and a half to 17 minutes, depending on weather and how he's feeling with his legs recovering. So he gives us 30 to 35 minutes maybe to do 3.1 miles. That's about a 10-minute walking pace. That's a pretty good pace walking. Faster than what we did the cleanup yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot faster.
Oh, so next Sunday's going to be a rough morning for us.
Yes. My shins, your shins will be sore. It'll be a good time, though.
But the things we do for charity.
Hopefully. We need some sponsors.
Yes. Reach out to us, please. We want to do this, and Steve's going to wear a pink cape and
Possibly
a tutu or
I
whatever.
have to go make me a cape. I thought Zeta had a pink Supergirl cape, so that's why I said pink cape, just because I thought maybe I had at least one. But
Listen, you donate, and we will show up, and we will look ridiculous. One way or another, it won't be something you'll be like, oh, I'd wear that, no problem. You're like, oh, what are these guys doing? Raising money for charity.
yes.
All right, what do you got else to talk about?
Well, big news in the country over the last few days since our last podcast was a Disinformation Governance Board that was created that rings eerily true to the Ministry of Truth in 1984, which you had just, I don't know, a couple months ago said that you had bought that book. Have you started it yet? Has it
Yeah,
made it into
I'm like 40 or 50 pages in. Started it, and I was doing really good. I was reading I read like 3 books in 1 week, and then a lot of things have changed in life. I'm a little busier, and it's harder. But Yeah, so I mean, you say that, and it kind of sounds like a Harry Potter kind of thing. Like we're living
Yeah.
in a Harry Potter world, the Ministry of Truth.
Yes, the Ministry of Truth is created allegedly to prevent foreign disinformation from entering into the social media sphere, so to speak. And I was looking it up, and there's a quote here with a subcommittee. Let's see here. The subcommittee was in Congress was asking the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas about the creation of this ministry last Wednesday. And when he was asked what the DHS is doing about an assertion that African Americans and Spanish speaking Americans are being heavily targeted for disinformation, Mayorkas mentioned, our Undersecretary for Policy, Rob Silvers, is co-chair with our Principal Deputy General Counsel, Jennifer Daskell, in leading a just recently constituted disinformation governance board. The goal is to bring the resources of the department together to address this threat. I just read a very interesting study that underscores the importance of the point that you make of the spread of mis- and disinformation in minority communities specifically. And I got this off of PJ Media. I read that off of PJ Media just for truth in advertising. That was written by Athena Thorne on April 27th. And it's kind of a quote in her article, but I want to make sure that I mentioned Athena Thorne on PJ Media. So when I read that as a person who studied American politics, that's what I got my BS in college, was American politics, and as a soldier who's out there defending our Constitution and the rights that it provides to us, kind of concerned that, number one, they're putting it into a category to protect certain classes of citizens, whereas what we do as a government should be done for all citizens, not just.
Well, so that says to me, from what I would take from that would be that the Department of Homeland Security believes that African Americans or Spanish speaking people apparently aren't as educated as white Americans or Asian Americans, or because then why do you want to specifically put it, it's targeting them, which I've never seen anything that's targeted anybody except just the general population. But it seems like a common government thing is, divide and conquer. They like to put classes of people, races of people against each other so that we never see the greater issue here, which is our government is out of control, doesn't represent us anymore. And pretty much it seems like the last couple of years, they just do whatever they want and they don't care the backlash.
So I kind of like to look for the dots, to connect the dots. I think of myself as a middle of the road person, not aligned to a political party, but aligned to my values that my mom and dad raised me with, and that I continued to live by when I was in the military, which is do the right thing, follow the law, and try to be a good person. I mean, we all make mistakes and everything, but whenever I see something targeting specific individuals, it makes me go and do more research. And then as I was doing more research, not necessarily saying this is why, I'm just saying it's interesting, coincidental, if nonetheless. But from July 11th in 2021, there's a NPR conversation that happened on their weekend edition. Let's see if it doesn't mention the name, but I'm reading the transcript, and it was hosted by Lulu Garcia Navarro, and she was talking about, and I'm quoting the article here, or her conversation off of NPR. It says, new data from the 2020 election shows a big swing in one voting group away from the Democratic Party. Latinos made a significant rightward turn, and partisans of both parties are looking hard at why. One of them is David Shore. He is the head of data science at Open Labs R&D, a progressive nonprofit. And then she asked him some questions. about this swing for, and this is talking about the Latinos, so Spanish speaking. I'm connecting those dots. Maybe they're different, so I might be wrong. Double check anything that you hear us talk about.
No, I mean, Latino community is Spanish speaking. That's, you know.
Right, but I don't want to make an assumption that's not the same. But there's a dot here if you give me a minute to connect it. So the host goes on to say, after the election, there was a narrative that the Latino vote swung right because of Cubans in Florida or Mexican Americans in South Texas. But what did you find when you looked precinct by precinct? And this is David Shore. And he says, precinct by precinct, what we really found was that even though there were particularly market shifts in South Texas, there was a 30-point swing in many counties. There were counties that had voted for Democrats solidly in the 70 to 80% range since the 1890s that Trump either won or came very close to winning. And in South Florida generally and Florida in general, there was something like a 13 or 14% swing. That said, basically everywhere there were large concentrations of Hispanic voters, there were large swings in the 6 to 9% range. And you know, that ranges from the Bronx in New York to Arizona to Massachusetts to California. This was a national trend that happened basically everywhere, and one of the biggest predictors of switching from voting for Clinton in 2016 to voting in Trump were attitudes towards crime, attitudes towards policing. I think that's a microcosm for a larger story. So we have data analysts from a progressive institution being interviewed on NPR saying that there was a swing and it was because of these issues. And so I'm wondering, now they're saying that this new created department within DHS is looking to control foreign mis- and disinformation.
So a perfect example of supposed foreign disinformation would be, for instance, would be Russian disinformation, which was the Hunter Biden laptop, which 2 years ago we were told was disinformation, and that was just some big hoax. But here we are now, and it's on the record in Congress, and
mainstream media.
And mainstream media can't deny it anymore that it was actually real. So to me, it seems like the ruling class, whoever's in power at the time, and now it's the Democrat party's in control of the House, Senate, and the presidency. So now it seems like it's disinformation if it doesn't fit with their line of thinking, although this is a free country and we're protected under, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of thought. It's amazing how far we've come in the last 2 years as a country that, slowly try to take your rights away, and then you're not smart enough to make the decision yourself. Well, so my challenge to everyone out there is, I'm conservative by nature, but at the end of the day, I'm an American citizen. I'm a patriot. I love this country, and I believe in the Constitution, which provides equal opportunities under the law for anybody, no matter your race, your religion, anything. It seems like more and more and more, and I think most people see it, that our government is completely out of control and out of touch, that it's we the people that have the power in this country, and we need to, come November and then going forward, is we need to fire these people, and we need to get people in there that represent us. And
regardless of political party.
Exactly, because honestly, if I had my way, every one of the political candidates there in Washington today, left, right, center, I don't care where they are, they'd all be fired because they don't represent us. They line their pockets, they protect their families, and we get shafted, basically. We always do our taxes are high no matter what. You pay the IRS, and we give billions and billions and trillions of dollars overseas all the time because apparently we're the world's baby daddy and we need to provide for them, but we never provide for our own citizens. And I think people are really starting to get fed up with that our hard-earned money, it doesn't actually benefit us.
Yeah, well, there needs to be a balance.
Absolutely.
There's strategic objectives that our country needs to uphold that does require us to invest or spend money overseas.
Yep.
But at the same time, look at the interstate highway systems, look at the homeless populations that we have.
Look at our homeless veterans and veterans that serve their country, many of which saw horrible things in war. And we have homeless veterans that turn to alcohol to ease the burden of the things they've seen and then lose it all and live on the street. That is the biggest shame there is in this country. That should never happen. And that's veterans, but not only veterans, you have homeless. You have all these homeless people. You have all these issues in our own country. But we will spend, what, $200,000 for gender studies in Pakistan because apparently that means something to somebody. That's important. That's more important than feeding homeless people. That's more important than our veterans, apparently, to some people.
Yeah, you know, another dot that is the recent announcement of Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. And Elon has said, and I'm paraphrasing, he looks at Twitter as the new town square because it allows me and you to communicate with people not only in America but around the world. So then the information that we can share is controlled right now, and it seems as if the timing of the creation of this information board or disinformation board is odd because we have the swing with minority votes from the 2020 election that you know, in the NPR interview is kind of like, you know, we got to make sure we're getting the right messages out there. Well, if you control Twitter, you control the messages. You control Facebook, you control the messages. You control YouTube, you control the messages. And I'm not necessarily saying that Elon Musk is going to open up Twitter to free speech as free speech is intended, because I'm kind of a free speech absolutist that Elon claims to be, which is you can say whatever you want. When you do that, though, realize that not everybody's going to listen to you. Not everybody has to listen to you. They can get up and walk away. There are social networking sites that allow you to block people because you have racists, whether it's bots or it's real people that'll say crazy things online. But you can also just put a button in there that says block. And I feel like when I was a child, I was taught sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And now society is words are assault, and I can say pretty much whatever I want as long as it's not threatening language.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, we could have a conversation. Me and you could have a conversation with anyone that pretty much that walks in here, and I'd have a conversation, and I would say, okay, tell me your point on this, whatever, and I can have that conversation with them. I can have that debate with them, and then leave here and be like, oh, okay. Now, some people in the mindset now is, you just had that conversation and didn't go the way you wanted it. You know, they're down the road and their car broke down, and a lot of people today would drive by and give them the finger and like, because, well, I don't agree with what you said. Like, what happened? Like,
I don't know.
We all have different
extremes.
opinions. Yeah, exactly.
It went from agree to disagree to I
Yes.
disagree with you and now I don't like you and now I'll never talk to you again, or
Right.
help you if you're broken down the side of the road. And that's the beauty of a free speech society is you can discern if what I'm telling you connects with you. You can go and you can look it up because there are articles that will agree with you and there'll be articles that disagree with you. Then you have to use your ability, your innate ability to discern, okay, I kind of agree with this, or I still don't see it this way. And it's slowly being taken away from us because if you go back to 1984, the main protagonist of the story, his job is to change history that fits the narrative of the government of the day for that day. So he may go in and he'll get a slip of paper that says, all right, change this around. And he just goes in and changes that information. And then everybody agrees as if it's the truth, even though they know deep down that it's not the truth. And when we talk about 1984, I want to make sure I mention this, but our daughters have read 1984 as part of the curriculum in high school, and I think that is great. That is something that they can read and see, and then even though it's fiction, to see exactly, well, wait a second, whenever this happened, and it's a slippery slope, yes, but it's also, it's there for you to see, and it's this one man's idea of how it happens and what the negative effects of controlling the narrative and changing history to support the needs of those in power. But you got to be careful with that. And I'm glad that the school has our kids reading 1984 so that will help them in their path to critical thinking and discernment.
Yeah, I was impressed when Alicia saw it on the nightstand, and she's like, oh, we read that in school. And I was like, wow. Like, I was very impressed. And it's funny because it's not a real book, right? It's not based on facts and everything, but if you read that book and you look at the things today, you would be like, huh, kind of just read what's exactly happening today. And it's pretty scary
That's
sometimes
scary.
how that kind of some of these futuristic books predict and how accurate some of these are, you know?
Yeah, so it's crazy. I'm glad that Zeta and Alicia had a chance to read that and write reports on it to show that they understood the information presented in it. So kudos to our high school English teachers for continuing on and helping our children learn critical thinking skills, because they might read it and say, oh, well, that's a good idea. Hopefully not. Hopefully they see the dangers of changing your history day to day to where no one really knows anything anymore, and a select few end up controlling the narrative. And while that's not necessarily what's going on with this, it goes back to a slippery slope argument. I mean, we've had other things in the past where they've used data analytics to and they're probably still using them today, to see what's going on with all of us, even though it's under the guise of preventing foreign disinformation and misinformation. My recommendation would be to read as much as you can, ask as many questions as you can, because telling people like us sitting here talking about what we believe is not going to necessarily convince other people. It might give comfort to people who might agree with what we're saying, but really the truth is you got to get out there. You need to read books like 1984. You got to read the articles that are coming out, read these interviews that have been going on, and connect the dots yourself and see, because you might find a total different connection. I might be totally wrong. And the fact that it's tied to politics, as it were, after they saw the swing for minority voters towards an outsider, really, because Trump is an outsider.
Right.
He's not an established, because the Republicans don't like him, the Democrats don't really like him. That's not all, but
Right.
And he was a Democrat up until 10 or so years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. Don't quote me.
Well, let's think about it. I think,
But he's an outsider, and he put things out there that most people normally wouldn't see. He showed warts and all, I think. And if there's a good thing that we can say about Trump, is he showed exactly how our government operates. I mean,
yeah, it's just a big cesspool of corruption. It really is. I mean, and it doesn't matter Republican, Democrat. Like, yeah, right now we have Democrats running everything, and honestly, the country's going down the tube so fast, it's insane.
well, our gas bills are higher.
Gas prices, inflation,
Heating bills are higher.
exactly, and then
Groceries are higher. And they've used different excuses too. Like you can look it up, but over the last 9 months, it went from this to now it's because of the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Right.
Man, what's the truth? What is it? It's
And
all,
remember,
maybe it's all adding up and it's combined. But I'm the kind of guy. If you make a mistake, own the mistake. If you put a policy out there that was wrong, say that you put the wrong policy out there, and we got to try to figure out what's right. But this day and age, a lot of people don't like to admit when they make mistakes, and I feel that owning up to mistakes is number one. It builds trust. Even if you did something wrong, build trust, and people we want to trust our government. We want to trust, and I think that there's some apathy that came into effect after things have been going along so well, and then you just kind of take your eye off the ball. You're not as involved with the governance of the community, the town, the state, the nation.
And you look at today in school, like I'll ask my kids questions sometimes, and sometimes I just shake my head, and I'm like, man, have I failed as a parent? Because it seems like, in my opinion, that it's like the dumbing down of America. So the kids that go to school, like the education, it's like we don't teach them laws. Most of these kids don't know how laws are made. They don't know what their rights are. And let's face it, if you don't know how laws are made and you don't know what your rights are, it's pretty easy for someone to take those rights from you, isn't it? Because you didn't even know that, oh, wait, I have a First Amendment right to say, what I want besides threatening, or I have this right, I have that right.
The right to bear arms.
You have the right,
doesn't have anything to do with hunting.
Right. So many people, that gets me, is people like, well, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. And I'm like, you really should learn history, because it has nothing to do with hunting. It was the right to bear arms because the government was funded or excuse me, founded so that if our government got to be exactly how it is today, tyrannical, and they don't represent us anymore, that our right to bear arms was so that we could remove, and it's in the Constitution, you remove this government that doesn't represent you anymore and install or re-elect people that do represent us. And like it's in there, in the Constitution, in law.
And there were a lot of good debates that went on when they were trying to figure this out with the Federalist Papers. They go back and forth with each other about a litany of different not options, but methods, methodology of building our government so that they looked at the past to see, all right, these are all the things that can and probably will happen if this, and this happens. And so they had open debates published in the Federalist Papers going back and forth with each other, the founding fathers, of how to approach it. And there's always been a debate about the elites governing over, and these days they call it the ignorant masses. And whenever I studied politics in college, I remember how offended that made me, is that we're not ignorant. Like, just because I don't go to an Ivy League school doesn't mean I'm ignorant. What it means is I got my education somewhere else. Some people don't even have college degrees and do way more than people with doctorates. So education and whatever they want to delineate what makes somebody elite versus I think Sam Adams called it the mob. I think his son called it the rabble. So it's been around since the founding of our country that can we govern ourselves? Can people like you and I get elected and do the right by the citizens? Or does it take a certain type of person with certain pedigree that can make these decisions for us? Because, as I said, when I studied it, we were called the ignorant masses. And I take offense to that. That's
right.
But at the same time, we just talked about apathy. And so you can claim ignorance, but I think it's apathy, because we thought, everything's going on all right. I don't need to be going to the selectmen meeting. I don't need to tune in to C-SPAN and watch the conversations that are going on in government, because there's a lot of conversations that if you do the research, you would be surprised at what comes out of our federal government and probably our state government.
Yeah, I mean, our state government, we've gone down over this winter, twice to different articles that were up. One was like voting machines. We went down and checked that out, and what was the other one? Was it
doctors' rights to prescribe?
Yeah, I think it was the other one. And so every weekend in the Capitol, which is open to the public, there's HB, so it's House Bill whatever. And so every week they have that, and then you just go around the government's website, you can see it. It comes up, tell you what it is.
You can see it. You can write in. You don't even have to go down there.
You don't have to
write in. There's been a lot of things that I've written in. So I guess if there's anything that comes out of this new board, number one, use your discernment, and number two, look up and see what's going on in our state government, because truly the state is where our roads, our schools. The state should be funding that, not necessarily the federal government.
Right. I mean, so the point of this whole conversation is it's not to sway you one way or another, it's to challenge you to go out and look up this stuff for yourself. Don't take our word for it.
Yes.
Look it up.
We might be totally wrong, and if we are, come on the show and let's have a conversation about it.
Exactly.
And show me what we're missing.
But the point is, if you're happy with the gas prices, if you're happy with inflation, if you're happy with everything that's happening right now in our country, then just keep doing what you're doing. Don't be informed. Don't bother voting. Don't whatever. But if you're sick of all the things that are happening in this country, get involved. Get out and vote. Go to your local
candidate you're going to vote for. Hold them accountable for what you want.
Exactly. And if you honestly think sending career politicians back to Washington this November is going to make your life and make our state and this country better, then I guess you're not very informed, because it's not working so well for us lately, has it?
No, it hasn't. And I've been looking. There was a book I read, and it was a theory, basically. The political outsider comes into D.C., that it will totally derail our government as we know it. And I'm trying to find the book. If you're listening and you recognize the book that I'm talking about. But it was basically a theory. It was this gentleman's theory, or it was probably more than one. It was probably an A.all. that wrote the book. But basically, you have an outsider. We consider Trump an outsider. As we mentioned earlier, he was a Democrat and now he's a Republican. Neither party really likes him. So, outsider comes in, and now all of this stuff is coming to light that we're seeing because he didn't play the politics game as it normally is, where Democrats bring up something, Republicans get all irate about it and act like they're going to do something, but really they don't do much other than talk about.
Republicans never. No, yeah, absolutely. Republicans never do anything. So the Democrats will bring something up, and the Republicans will sit there and they'll talk a little bit about it, but they don't do nothing. And that's the thing. Like, so if someone's getting the view like, oh, these two guys like Trump and all this, you know what? I like some of Trump's things. I agree with a lot of things, that he was a jerk and this and that, but I'm going to argue the last 4 years when he was president were a heck of a lot better than the last almost 2 years of this one. But that's fine. But the point is, none of them are doing their job. None of the Republicans. And so it's like, okay, this November, Republicans will probably win it all back, and maybe we can make some change. And it's like, okay, that'd be great, but like, we really need to get some new ones in there because I don't trust them either. And I don't care if they're in power. I am against a government that doesn't represent we the people. I don't care what the letters next to their name. I don't care about any of that. I'm an American. I'm a patriot. I love my country, and I am going to do whatever I can do, whether it's through the show, whether it's through the community, to get more people involved, to take back the government that is yours, and participate. We're not saying, oh, you're out there listening to us and you're like, well, I'm going to have to run for selectman because I need to get involved. No, you need to show up and vote, and you need to know what's going on in town. You know, how many people don't know anything that's going on in town because they go to work, they come home, the state of New Hampshire's down there putting in drainage down on Main Street, and how many people drive by that, they don't know what's going on. Like for me,
So that's state funded?
Yeah, that's a state thing. My buddy works for the state, and so they're putting all new drainage in because a couple years ago they did the other side of the street. They're doing this side this year, and I guess they're going to pave all of Main Street, which would be nice because it's pretty bumpy and rough. But you know, I'm on Facebook. You're not. Probably benefits you more sometimes not being, because you don't see the stuff I see, and you got people on like What's Up Newport and stuff like complaining because there's 5 guys standing there and there's guys running machines, and why are we wasting tax? Why do we got 5 or 8 guys standing around nothing? Well, because they can't be in the hole when the guy's digging, and I was like, it just drives me nuts. Like, I tell you what, why don't you go stop and ask them that question and say, hey, I'm just curious why, instead of running your mouth on Facebook, complaining on Facebook, get involved. Like, that's the biggest thing. Get involved, ask questions, and
so that's a long running joke though with
it is a long
state
running
crews, whereas
it is.
There's one guy working, everybody else standing around watching. So that's an old joke that's been going around forever.
And I'm fine with the joke. It's just when they go on Facebook and they're all like, and I know you're saying that.
And the other thing though, to go back to research and using history, we can go back and look at, I want to say it's the early 1800s. Zeta had studied this, but basically, do we get involved overseas? How much do we get involved overseas? So that debate's been going on for a long time as well. So the elites versus the ignorant masses, the foreign policy versus solely domestic and take care. I would argue that you got to have a little bit of both, like I mentioned before. But these are all arguments that have occurred in the past, and you can go and read from these men and women who are, passed away. They're not here any longer, but it still applies. Just like 1984 was written in the 30s or 40s, I can't recall off the top of my head. But here it is 80 years later, 90 years later, and it's like you said, it's eerily scary. And I used to tell the kids, don't just read graphic novels, pick up a history book. History has a tendency to repeat itself, not necessarily exactly, but the same problems come up because we're all flawed and we all end up, becomes a struggle for power, influence, and at the end of the day, I would argue that most of us want to be back in that apathetic form to where I can trust you that you're going to go off and you're going to do the right things, you're going to get our roads improved, you're going to get high-speed internet to the entire country because it's basically a utility, and that's an argument that's been going on for about 10 years that it's almost like a basic right with water. And so just because, but if you go and you read history, you read even a book like 1984, Animal Farm.
Both by George Orwell.
There's a few of them that kind of highlight the struggles that we're going through now because they've talked about it before in the past. And yes, things have changed. We have the information flow, way more information, which is why they've created this, is to slow that information down and try to control the narrative. Now, if it's because there's legit disinformation coming through, but the problem is, like I mentioned before, you lose trust when 50 former intel heads and spies and everything else sign a document saying, oh, this is classic Russian disinformation. 2 years later, New York Times, Post are reporting, actually that laptop is real and there's some bad things on there, and that's more and more will probably come out.
It just comes down, once again, to talk about how corrupt, especially our federal government is. And we need to make a change.
It's about maintaining power and control and influence. And you don't do that by saying, oh, we messed up here, now we're going to go back and change this, because it's hard to change because the federal government's like a barge. So it takes it some time to correct its course. Whereas if you're on a speedboat, you can whip that thing around. So it's slow to move, but we can influence it by getting involved again, by showing up to the select board meeting, the school board meetings, to provide praise when it's needed, and if there's a concern, bring it up. If there's a certain types of concerns that you need to have brought up, reach out to the principals. That's your first recourse, and then the superintendent, and see what they have to say. Don't just come to throw a match on some burning timbers. Now, I'm not telling you can't. What I'm saying is there's, in the military we say chain of command, but there's a flow of information so you give the right person the opportunity to fix the problem at the right level. And so that's why you show up to the school board, selectmen, the subcommittee and committee hearings down in Concord, to have your voice heard. Now, you may not end up being on the winning end because you might be in the minority, but you would like to think that what they do is they take into account the information that they're getting from their constituents, not just what their base says they need to do, and trying to make a political party happy versus making those they serve happy.
No, exactly. When I heard that there not long ago about one of the candidates, I was just blown away. Your base is the New Hampshire people, but apparently her base is just the Democrat supporters that send her money. So
that don't approve of Ruger, one of the lifebloods of our town.
Exactly, and that's where I have a huge issue, because if you're
and our state, I would imagine the amount of taxes they pay. They're probably not getting sweetheart deals anymore. Maybe they are. I'd have to look into that. So don't trust me on that. Do your research. Fact check me, because I'll try to bring up facts, but that's just my own personal rambling right there.
So the other thing, we forgot to do this earlier, so we'll have to make it extra special now, but we want to thank Twin State Paving for sponsoring the show. If you need to get your driveway paved this year, reach out to them now so you can get on the schedule, because just like every contractor out there, whether it's a roof or anything, there's a line, right? And you have to get in the line to get to the front of the line. I heard that on an ad the other day from roofing company. But so yeah, I would thank Twin State Paving for sponsoring our madness here. And
I got their
I know you got it right on there. So you've seen it the whole time, but this is the first time we talked about it, so I wanted to make sure before the end of the show we mentioned that. But we just got one other topic I wanted to mention today, and if my computer wants to operate here, that'd be fantastic. But so this is just like a public safety kind of thing, and I think especially in our town, we all support fire and police and EMS and all that. I feel like if you surveyed our town, the number would be huge. We're very fortunate here. But so in the state of New Hampshire, there's a move over, slow down law. And I saw a story over the weekend or late last week where another state trooper's cruiser had been hit down on the Everett Turnpike, which was in Merrimack. It seems like this is happening more and more and more. There was a state trooper that was killed this year down in, I think it was in Portsmouth. Same thing. Like, people aren't moving over. So we just wanted to put a little public safety message out there. And first of all, it's the law. So if it's a fire truck, an ambulance, police, or a wrecker, they're under the same protection. Move over. That's someone's, mom, dad, husband, wife. Like, that's someone's family member that is very much cared about, that's doing a job. And we as drivers out there need to slow down and move over for them. I see it a lot in town. People that are really, they do a good job around here, but I just want to make sure there's even more awareness. So stay off your phone. If you have to text or call someone, just pull over or use your Bluetooth or something, because it's not right. It's a dangerous enough job for these people. They shouldn't have to worry about it. Might get run over today. And the same thing with state workers out working right now downtown Newport. Like, they have to watch their back constantly because someone comes through not paying attention and they almost get hit.
It's kind of dangerous down there. There was a fatality in the last year and a half right there at the traffic circle. Yeah,
there's pedestrians that get hit by cars, and but especially like I said, police.
So do you know if that law applies to broken down vehicles as well? So if I have to change my tire or if I pull over with my flashers on?
I don't know if that. Would have to ask Chief Wilmot if that. I know it was more pertaining for fire, EMS, and.
Because I try to do it, and I want to say maybe in Texas that was the law. It was like anybody broken down, try to get over, definitely slow down and move.
For
over.
me, it's like a
similar law there, but I just instinctively get over because I wouldn't want to be, because some shoulders aren't as wide as others. They're not all created equally, and if you got to change the tire. It could be scary and dangerous, depending on the traffic pattern that's going on.
I mean, it just comes down to you're responsible for your vehicle. Like, I tell my kids this all the time. Like, so as my kids are getting their licenses, then the stress level goes up because you're like, oh man, and I worry about some of them more than others. I have some good drivers, and I have some drivers that I'm like a little nervous about. But we constantly drill our kids, like, first of all, don't touch your phone when you're driving. And you need to pay attention and slow down because you now, as a driver, are responsible if something happens. If you hit and kill someone because you are being neglectful, you're responsible for that. And you don't want that for yourself. You don't want that for your family. And obviously the person that gets hit or whether they're injured or killed, like, their family doesn't want that. Like, It's a simple courtesy thing, like, common sense. As a car broke down the side of the road, like, slow down, move over a little bit for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the law, so maybe some people don't know. I don't know when it was passed. Maybe they didn't.
It's been a while, but
driver's ed, but
I just feel like I've seen more and more and more of this lately, and so I was like, hey, I think we'll mention this on the show today because most of us know it, but sometimes we do need a reminder as citizens that, like, oh, I didn't think that I'm in a hurry to go somewhere and. Well, these people are just trying to do a job to keep all of us safe out there. And so just slow down and move over. So that's my little spiel there. But thank you for listening and tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're supposed to have Jeff Miller on, and we'll talk some sports with him. We'll have some other topics as well. Still just 5K thing. So
5K,
reach out to
the
us.
Library Arts Center for the student art display going on until May 27th.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching our show today. I'm Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
Have a good one.